my talk was due to be about what we've done to pivot in the events industry and what you can learn from it. Now, I am still going to do that. However, for those of you who are not aware, I run or have run a audiovisual hire company for the last 17 years, which means we do sound, lighting, staging for events. That's all I'm going to say about that. What I am going to talk about is what happened when COVID hit and what's happened to our industry. And I'm going to be quite blunt, and I'm going to talk about things that happen from my experiences and other people's experiences. But there are still things and lessons that can be learned from this. So that is pretty much the basis of my talk. So I'm not going away from what I was taught, but I decided to kind of put some other bits into it. So when I said to Peter, I have no idea where this is going to go, there is an element of truth to that. We're going to see what happens. So let's start where any good story starts, at the beginning. And this isn't when COVID hit and lockdown hit. It's actually at the start of March, when there was rumours of COVID. And at the time, like most people, I was doing events and we had a very busy work calendar and we were up and down the country. And we did a very big event for one of our clients in London. And at the time, with the lead up to it, we heard rumours that events were starting to get closed down in Europe and such. And I thought, probably won't affect us, which is probably what most people thought. It probably won't come to England. It'll be all right. It'll be fine. Nothing's going to happen. But we started to see signs. And the first one was when we were doing this large event for the client, and nearly a quarter of his audience backed out of attending due to fears of COVID. And bearing in mind, this is 2 weeks prior to lockdown. So those were the first signs. He also had 2 guest speakers that said, we were coming from another country. We're not going to risk it and fly over because it's worse where we are. So we'll just do still do the conference, but we'll do like we do now on a Zoom call and speak to your delegates in the room from a Zoom call. So those were the first signs. As the days went on, more things started to happen. And the first sign was we had a very busy week. We got back from London. We did a conference at Aston Villa, where a networking organisation held their conference, where they were talking about what they were planning to do for the next 12 months. But they were being very conscious, saying, you're not allowed to hug, you're not allowed to high five, no shaking hands, just be safe, blah, blah, blah. We're still a week away from lockdown here. And the following day, we were due to do a conference for the NHS. And that morning, when we turned up at the venue, we were told it had been cancelled. Now, normally, my reaction would be, well, thanks for letting us know, considering we've turned up with all the equipment and all the people here, and be a bit annoyed. But my reaction was slightly different in the fact that I was thinking, this is getting more real now. This is starting to affect our industry. And while the rest of my team were working out in other places around the Midlands, I went off to Southampton for 2 days or 3 days to work for a construction client. And that's when it really hit home. And it wasn't about what was going on with my client and the stuff we were doing with them, but for the fact that over that process of the 2 or 3 days, I started to get cancellations. And I started to get a lot of cancellations. We're only 3 days away from lockdown now. And I've now lost £52,000 worth of business in the space of 2 weeks, which is scary. Now, when we finally got to lockdown, the day before, and I'll come back on this, I'll skip on this, I did a Facebook Live, which I know a number of you have seen and was quite poignant, and it will lead on to something else I'm going to talk about. That was the day before we were told that we would have to close our doors. So that was quite scary stuff because we did not know that that was going to happen. And since then, our doors have remained closed. And we have no intention of opening up the doors to the office until October time, we hope. So what happened next? Well, I panicked. I'm not going to lie. I panicked big time. When you've just lost £52,000 worth of work in the space of 2 weeks, that's a lot of money to lose. And we're not just talking about events that were due to happen literally in the next few weeks. People started cancelling festivals. So we're talking June, July, August. We had a client who had their conference scheduled for September. and they cancelled it because they were that worried about what's happening. Now, going through my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? What the hell's going on? And still, to this day, I'm going to be brutally honest with everyone. I have good days. I have bad days. I've had quite a few bad days over the last couple of weeks. Again, not going to lie. There are days where I've literally had nothing but cancellations coming through. And I've just thought, why am I bothering with this? Because at this rate, I am not going to have a business. But I didn't give up. And I'm not going to give up. And it's through talking to people. And again, I'm going to touch on this, and this is some of my top tips. And the way that I've engaged with people, it's kind of what's helped me get through this. And I'm going to still have ups and downs. It's bound to happen. That happens with any business. This is a very tough time. It's a tough time for all businesses during this situation. But I'm going to put the emphasis on more of a tough time for the hospitality and the events industry, because whereas some businesses have been allowed to reopen, there is a big chunk of our sector that still can't open and might not open till later in the year, or worst case scenario, next year. Because of people's fears, things have been pushed back so far. I know a number of companies that are in the same line of work that I am, or in different lines of work, who have got no work until next spring. And that is a scary thought. So once I got over the panicking, and once I got over the hurting, I was like, I need a plan. I need to do something. What's going to help me through this? And some of you may have seen me do, I did a mini version of this talk a few months ago on one of the other sessions. And one of the first thing I did was I picked up the phone and I called people and I spoke to people. I asked them how they were doing. I didn't put my problems on them. I just wanted to have a chat. And I carried on chatting to people. And I rang up clients. I rang up suppliers. I contacted my staff and basically told them, this is the situation that we're in. This is what we're doing. But how are you? And I had conversations. And still to this day, I'm having conversations with different people. I've continued to network. I've done probably more networking than I've ever done this year in the 17 years of business, because as I end up zooming around the country, as Peter knows and everyone, there's some meetings I make and there's some meetings I can't make, so I just get to what I can. I've pretty much tried to get to all different ones and schedule things, and I've got further out to places than I've ever done. And doing talks like this have been fantastic. And I've been asked to speak at groups in London. I've done numerous talks for London groups, in Manchester, Birmingham groups. I've done a number of talks for family business practice, other networking organisations, and also industry-specific organisations. I've been recorded for podcasts. And that is all because I've just got out and talked to people. My biggest thing from this is you need to be seen, you need to be visible. Because if you are not, you will get forgotten about. Now, I don't mean to sound fickle. I'm guilty of this. You may have met someone at a networking event, you got on really well with them, and a few months go by and you might not see them. You might not be connected to them on social media. It's guaranteed that you will probably forget about them at some point. Now, you may bump into them again in the future and go, oh, yeah, such and such. But there might be that thing is, oh, I could have used your services for such and such. I learned that many years ago through doing networking. And the one thing I don't want to happen to our industry, let alone my organisation, is for us to disappear off the face of the earth. So I'm making myself visible. I'm doing all sorts of things. And again, I'm going to come on to that a little bit. So whatever you're doing, get out networking, talk to your clients, talk to suppliers. That is one of my golden rules. Now, my next little bit is the pivoting bit. Now, I probably pivoted so much that I'm actually dizzy right now. So that probably explains why my head is bobbing around also. I've just seen a message from Richard Fallon that says I haven't aged in about 20 years. We'll talk about that later. It's living a good life, mate. That's what does it. I am a bit sick of the word pivoting and the new normal, but unfortunately that's what you have to do. So we looked at different ways to keep our company as an entity going. And we've done a few things. it's basically we focused more on the audio editing. We've always done lots of audio editing, but we were getting interviewed for podcasts and stuff, and we're thinking, well, do they want the hassle of doing that? We could do it for them, so we offered that service. We focused more on our video services because obviously we couldn't physically do live events, but we could send people to record messages or do stuff. So we focused on that. And also there's a big thing about online events. And I'm not going to lie, we did not jump on the online events platform straight away. We did our research. We found a platform that worked for us. I have been on different events that have used online platforms. Some that have had great success and some that have been shocking. And I did not want to be in that pigeonhole of, oh, we went to one of your conferences online and it was shocking, because that will absolutely wreck your reputation. So we teamed up with one of our clients, and we didn't develop it. And we've always said this from the start, we didn't develop the software. We've just helped with some bits and pieces. And we've teamed up with one, and we pushed that out to a number of clients that can't postpone their events. They've got to run their events. They've got no choice because of the nature of what they do. And we've helped them put them on, and that's been relatively successful. Ain't going to get back the income that we would normally have, but it's a start. So we looked at different ways to make things work. So again, we're still being seen to do stuff. We're still doing stuff with clients, but we're out there. So the other thing that comes up, and this relates back to that Facebook Live that I did. I had, and I kid you not, when I did the Facebook Live saying, I am really concerned for our industry, and it was literally a 15-minute talk, basically saying my thoughts and fears on what could happen if we got into lockdown. Bearing in mind, this was 24 hours before lockdown happened. I got hundreds of comments, tons of likes, people sharing it all over the place. I got phone calls from people. I got text messages. I had people that I had not spoken to in years contact me saying, oh my God, that was so open and honest. And this really helped me. And some of these people are in the industry, some of them aren't. And it got me thinking, and I'm going to credit Mr. Peter Bayliss, who's here. We've been chatting for a number of weeks, and I worked with Peter, and we were saying, what could we do that would make a difference, that would also fall into the whole be seen, be visible category? And I decided to set up a Facebook group. Doesn't sound like much, I know. With the real intention to basically just do Facebook Lives. I know that sounds odd, but basically talk about what's going on in our industry. That very quickly escalated. And over the last 16 weeks, we have gained nearly 300 members. We have recorded a number of podcasts. We do Zoom calls every Friday. We had guest speakers like the one and only Peter Roper, who's very kindly hosting this. We have different people from the industry. We have done interviews. We have interviewed members. We have shared news stories. And as the community has grown, more people are sharing their stories, their information. It's got to a point where I'm doing Facebook Lives talking about how different grants work and breaking down all the information, because let's face it, a lot of the government information is as clear as mud. I'm not knocking the government, but it takes ages. And I basically break it all down into segments and go back through it for people in our industry to understand. So much so that I've got tonight record a special video, a special about obtaining the grants for the 1.57 billion that all went live as of midday today, and how you apply and how you do it, and whether you are actually able to apply if your company falls in the thing. So I've done like a idiot's guide to do that, because frankly, I'm the idiot who had to read through the 8 different documents to decipher it all. But that's what we've done. And it's gained a massive reaction. From that, I'm being asked to speak on other podcasts, as mentioned. I've been asked to do radio interviews. It's basically going to be putting me in front of some press over the next couple of weeks. And so much so that I've said I want to give more back to the members. And I'm now putting an online conference on using that platform that we teamed up with near the back end of September, where we have a number of guest speakers, and we've managed to gain some very high-profile speakers as well, just because they've heard what we're doing and the message we're putting out, and it's boosting our profile. Now, from a totally selfish point of view, this is fantastic for my business. It's not generating me any revenue, but I am being seen as the expert. And trust me, I do actually feel like an expert. At the start, I felt like a bit of a fraud because I'm just a guy that presses a few buttons, does some concerts, and makes some noise. But the amount of government stuff I've had to go through, the amount of news stories, the amount of stuff that people have shared to me saying, have you seen this? What are your thoughts on this? It has made me that expert in the room. And that makes one of my final points is be the expert. People will gravitate to you. People will listen to you. As long as you're giving out the correct information. Now, I always say, I don't get everything right, but when I'm given stuff, I go through it very carefully with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that whatever messages I'm sending out, it's the correct thing, because I don't want to give out false information. That's unfair on the members of the group or people who are watching the videos. So that's gone very well. My final little tip is be flexible, be kind, be helpful, and don't bullshit people. And the reason I say that is with a lot of our clients in our industry, people are constantly having to move events. And I could quite easily be a complete arse and say, no, you can't move it. Your contract says you have to do it on this date. So pay the deposit or you lose your event. That is not going to do me any favours, especially in the times that we're in right now in the industry. So I'm being flexible. I've had clients that have already moved their events 3 or 4 times. And we've said, that's fine. You do what you need to do. We are still there for you and we will help you. And if you need any advice, we will do that. So we're being flexible. We're being kind. We're being helpful. We've had clients ring us up saying, the new legislation's come in. Does it mean we can or can't do our event? Because we're confused. And we've helped them. And don't bullshit anyone, because it doesn't help anyone. I am very frank and honest, and I've got even more so, and you can probably tell by the way I'm doing this talk. It doesn't help anyone. If you're giving it, oh, we're all fine, everything's fantastic, blah, 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 and you're really in the shit, that's not going to help you, because people are going, well, you said you're all right. Why don't you say, I would love a phone call. I'd love to catch up for a coffee. I'd love to do a Zoom call. I just want to chat to you for a bit, because you will probably find you will get more help than you ever would. And then if you're going, oh, look at me, I got millions of pounds, I'm fine. Yeah, that doesn't work like that, people. Doesn't work like that. Not at all. And I should know. So what does the future hold? Because I've literally got about 2 minutes. So, not going to lie, our industry is still pretty screwed. There are bits of it coming back. Outdoor events are coming back. I was very lucky to do my first outdoor event on Saturday, which was my first music event as well. But bearing in mind, I only have done 2 events in total in the whole of the last 6 months. I do have some hybrid events coming up because we're doing hybrid events. A lot of them are geared towards September and stuff. So we've got stuff in the diary. And I'm not going to lie, 2021, our diary has never been so busy. So some of you might never see me again after the end of 2020, because everyone's either moved all their events into 2021 or people have been booking events for 2021, which is fantastic. And again, being seen, being visible and being helpful, I've gained tons of new clients that I have never had the opportunity to get in front of before. And this has all helped. So, not going to lie, I've got a couple of tough months ahead, and it'd be interesting to see how things pick up if the government allow us to do socially distanced expos, conferences, etc. from October, as stated, keeping our fingers crossed that that does happen. If it doesn't, it's going to be interesting times. But we're hoping, we're trying to stay positive that that's what's going to happen. But to end on a good note, everyone's talking about their good news stories. And today is the 10th of August. And I count myself very lucky, and I'm not saying this to rub it into other people, because there are lots of people out there that have had to cancel their wedding or didn't manage to get their wedding, or have been told yet again that the poor brides and grooms that were told they thought they could have their wedding reception on the 1st of August, and now they're told they can't. I count myself very lucky. For those that know her, I got married to my very wonderful Lizzie 6 months ago today. It is our 6-month wedding anniversary. And we're still together. Can you believe it? We've spent nearly 5 months in lockdown and she's still with me. I haven't driven her crazy. So that's good news in itself. So if there's a happy ending to a story, is no matter what happens in this industry, least I'll still be married. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening.